Welcome to today's Explainer. Go ahead and grab your favorite cup of coffee, settle into a comfy spot, and get ready because we're about to have a really fascinating conversation. Today, we're taking a relaxed approach to diving into some incredibly deep, profound waters. We are going to be unpacking Chapter 10 of Jinwook Kim's book, The Assurance of Our Salvation, specifically focusing on the biblical hermeneutics of salvation. Now, I know that sounds like a super dense topic, but trust me, by the time we wrap up today, you are going to see this with absolute crystal clear vision.
So, let me just start by asking you right off the bat, how do you describe the indescribable? Really, think about that for a second. We constantly run into this massive roadblock when we try to capture the infinite, boundless realities of God using our very limited human language. I mean, how do you explain a cosmic event that literally alters the fabric of eternity using the exact same words we use to order groceries or complain about the weather? It's pretty much an impossible task, right?
Well, the biblical writers actually knew this struggle all too well. They understood perfectly that a single word or concept just couldn't capture the sheer magnitude of human salvation. So what did they do? They used 4 incredibly vivid, everyday pictures from the ancient world to describe this one multifaceted reality. Think of salvation like a massive, beautifully cut diamond. If you just look at it from one single angle, you totally miss the brilliance of the other facets. We really need to step into all 4 of these ancient locations to see the whole breathtaking picture.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to hit 4 spots: the temple altar, the family home, the slave market, the courtroom, and then finally we'll tie the whole thing together.
All right, our first stop, the temple altar, and covering the cost. Here in this first room, we really have to confront the heavy reality of God's justice. In ancient Israel, this was the site of the sacrifice, where the high priest offered a substitute to cover the people's sins. Now, the big theological word here is propitiation. How do we actually translate that dense concept into everyday life? Well, it basically means soothing wrath by taking the punishment in place of someone else. Imagine literally stepping in and absorbing a fatal blow that was aimed right at your friend. Our source makes a really critical distinction here, though. This is absolutely not about appeasing some petty, angry deity who just demands blood. No way. It's about a perfectly just and loving God taking the penalty upon himself in the person of Jesus. He steps in to take the hit so we don't have to.
And that brings us to a crucial point, captured beautifully in this quote. God didn't suddenly start loving us because Jesus died. Actually, that's completely backward. Rather, Jesus became that sacrifice on the altar because God already loved us. The cross was the result of God's love, not the cause of it. It's a massive shift in perspective, right? It roots the whole shebang entirely in divine grace.
Moving on to number 2, the family home and being welcomed back.
So we're leaving the heavy atmosphere of the altar and walking right into the living room, into the realm of restored relationships with reconciliation. The text explains that human sin caused this massive rift, a total severance of relations between humanity and God. We were actually acting as enemies. So reconciliation is all about fixing that fractured relationship. It's the end of the hostility. Picture 2 estranged friends finally dropping their weapons, running toward each other, and just joyfully embracing. You know, this quote from Romans 8 brilliantly illustrates just how intimate this new relationship gets. Notice the specific use of the Aramaic word Abba. This isn't some stiff, formal title you'd use for a boss. It is a term of absolute endearment. It's very much like a little child looking up and saying, "Daddy." The barrier hasn't just been removed. The relationship has been radically, completely upgraded.
Just look at the incredible contrast here. The ancient texts tell us that we went from being these alienated, hostile outsiders with literally zero hope to fully adopted children. And let's be clear, this isn't just an honorary title. Being an adopted child means you have full, unhindered access to your father's infinite resources. The peace that comes from this kind of reconciliation, it fundamentally rewrites our entire status in the universe.
All right, shifting gears to Section 3, the slave market and buying our freedom.
Okay, so we're stepping out of the warmth of the home and into a pretty harsh, chaotic reality, the ancient slave market. This brings us to the powerful concept of redemption. In the ancient world, if you were enslaved, your literal only hope was if someone came along with enough money to pay your purchase price and set you free. Redemption is liberating a captive by paying a massive price through a ransom. Imagine having an impossible, life-crushing financial debt, and someone just steps in, writes a check, and completely clears it for you. You're free.
And Mark 10:45 shows us that Jesus intentionally viewed his own life as that exact ransom price. He didn't just come down here to teach some good moral lessons. He gave himself up as the ultimate currency. He paid the absolute highest possible price, his very own life, to buy our freedom from the slavery of sin and death.
And finally, our fourth stop, the courtroom and the final verdict.
So, now we're standing before the judge. In this courtroom, we encounter justification. Now, the source text emphasizes something really important. Justification isn't a subjective feeling. You don't just feel justified. It is a definitive, objective, legal ruling from the God of justice. It's the judge slamming the gavel down and declaring that the ungodly are now totally righteous. Imagine walking in with a massive, undeniable criminal record and having the judge just wipe it completely clean. You are fully pardoned.
You can really see how this all builds up, can't you? We move from a state of being completely, rightfully guilty and condemned for our actions to literally walking out the front doors of the courtroom justified and totally free. God, as a perfect judge, has to punish injustice, but through the cross, justice is actually served, and we are legally cleared of all charges with the final booming verdict of not guilty.
Okay, Section 5, tying it all together for the grand finale. So how in the world do these four vastly different scenes, the bloody altar, the intimate family home, the transactional slave market, and the solemn courtroom, actually fit together into one cohesive truth? Well, in this single, breathtaking sentence from Romans chapter 3, the Apostle Paul masterfully weaves all these threads together. Look closely at his words here. Justified, that's the courtroom. Redemption, that's the slave market. And propitiation, that's the altar. In just 2 short verses, he brings these distinct pictures together to show us the massive, all-encompassing scope of what happened on the cross. I absolutely love this matrix right here, because it just brings the whole thing together. It brilliantly summarizes our entire journey today, showing the multidimensional beauty of this single act of liberation. If you look at it, at the altar, the problem of wrath is met with sacrifice. In the family, hostility is met with adoption. In the market, slavery is met with a ransom. And in the courtroom, guilt is met with a not guilty verdict. It's just such an incredibly structured, satisfying way to understand a deeply profound theological reality. At the end of the day, as the text brings to light, all of these pictures point to God's faithfulness in establishing a new covenant. We were alienated, for sure, but this multifaceted event of salvation completely restores us. It literally creates a brand new people, inviting us right into a restored, grace-filled relationship with the Creator of the universe. The cross isn't just about avoiding some punishment. It's about being brought into a dynamic, living covenant.
So, I want to leave you with this personal thought to chew on as we wrap up today's explainer. Ask yourself, which of these 4 pictures resonates most with your life right now? Do you most need to hear that definitive pardon of the courtroom today? Or maybe you're really craving the warm embrace of the family home? Or maybe you need a ransom from a habit that has you enslaved? The beautiful thing about this diamond is that whatever facet you need, it is right there waiting for you. Thank you so much for exploring this incredible text with me today, and hey, keep learning.